Welcome to the Long Take Review, where college professors talk film, providing insight, not assigning homework. I'm your host, Jen Sipchak-Chai-Bankert, and I'm here with two friends with an infinite capacity for talking about movies they haven't even seen yet. First, he's not afraid to die, but he must not die. Yet. It's PT McNiff. How's it going, PT?
In Earthling human, that means, hello, Jen. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. I would have bet Greg would have taken that one.
I had to move. I had to move on this one.
Although, I am kind of disappointed you didn't start out as Emily Blunt and then transferred into that, but
I want it to be weirder.
I'll take it. Okay, that's fair. Fair. And he's killed people in countries you can't even spell. It's Greg Cass. How's it going, Greg?
I'm great, Jen. How you doing? Part 3.
Oh, coming in hot with the dad jokes. I love it. All right. So, dear listeners, if you're still with us, those were all references to films we may or may not be selecting because it's time for our annual Hype Draft. If you're joining us for the first time, if you're like, Hype Draft, what is this? You joined us recently, in the last year. The Hype Draft episode is one we do every year, and we compete against each other to pick our most anticipated movies slated for the rest of the year. But first, before we get even further into that, PT, if listeners think we live up to the hype after listening to this episode, what can they do?
If listening to us doesn't feel like doomsday, then you should follow the Long Take Review wherever you get your podcast. We host the feed on Jen's Substack at thelongtake.substack.com. But you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, YouTube, and many more. Wherever you're listening right now, you can find us there. In fact, you already have. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at The Long Take Review. We are also on Letterboxd. You can follow the account at LTR Pod, or you can search for the hashtag LTR Pod to see what each of us individually has been watching. Jen?
Thanks, PT. So before the fisticuffs begin, we want to take this opportunity to kind of run the tape back. One of the fun things about this episode is how wrong we usually are, because of how early in the year we are doing this and how many unknowns we're dealing with. So let's go over our draft picks from last year. PT, would you mind reading Antonio's roster for everybody since he's not here?
Of course, I would love to. Antonio drafted the following movies: Wicked for Good in the first round, Jay Kelly, The Life of Chuck, and Hamnet. And we can discuss this. I will say we did reach out to Antonio before recording the episode, and he said the less said about the slate of movies, the better, because I believe he was to some degree disappointed in all of them. And you can go back to the review episodes for all of them except Jay Kelly, which we did not review, which maybe speaks for itself in its own way. But yes, that was Antonio's slate, and he didn't feel like he had much to say about them. I think Wicked for Good was a great pick. I think these were good picks. He did get an Oscar win for Jessie Buckley out of this. And, I think that both of you liked Hamnet much more than he did. And he liked it much more than I did, which is not to say that I hated it, but I think that maybe if he had liked Hamnet as much as you two did, he might have felt like I had Hamnet and then I had these other three movies. I don't know. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad slate at all, but Jen, yes, does speak to your point of early in the year. It did look like Jay Kelly and Life of Chuck had some life to them.
That could have been 4 Best Picture nominees. That universe exists. In April of last year, that seemed possible. And then I was actually looking over this list, reminded just the hard fizzle of Wicked Part 2, right? Yeah. Into November, people were reserving a spot for it. And then it was, can both Ariana and Cynthia get in, or is it just Ariana? And then totally blanked, not a single.
Yes. Totally blanked.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the thing. I think that was the thing that I think no one could have foreseen. I don't think anybody, even if you had asked them over the summer or in the fall, it really was until
the
the
night
nominations
before
came out.
Yeah, the night before
Yeah.
the nominations, I think people would have been like, "Oh, it's going to get production design and costume design, at least nominations again." And then, probably Ariana Grande still, but yeah, that was
Instead, the Academy said, "Wicked, we're good."
No.
Oh.
Greg, would you like to read your slate?
I would love to. So I think the way this chart is formatted, did I pick third? Is that the way this is organized?
That is correct.
As well. So in order, I led off with my beloved Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. And then I went all O'Connor for the rest of the draft, which is movie number 2 was Wake Up Dead Man. Movie number 3 is The Mastermind, the Kelly Reichardt film about a would-be art thief. And then number 4 was The History of Sound. And when we were reflecting on this list, I'm pretty proud of my set, even though then we started to talk about, well, if we ranked in terms of box office, Greg came in dead last, and Greg didn't get a single Oscar nominee out of his slate. But I do think in that all important third matrix of like critical, enjoyment and or kind of our personal enjoyment, I guess that's lanes 3 and 4, I feel pretty good. Of my 4, I actually think I was coolest on Phoenician Scheme. And, I've revisited that since our initial review, which people can find back when it came out. I think we were all not cool. Maybe cool compared to other Wes Anderson, but not negative, right? Like, one of us famously fell asleep, which is never a good sign.
I'm never going to live that down.
But I do think on the whole, I would still like that is a movie I purchased and I will keep watching because I'm a weirdo like that. But other than that, I think Wake Up Dead Man, the Mastermind, and History of Sound are all slam dunks, and I really enjoyed all 3 of them a lot. Wake Up Dead Man, I think, being my top movie of last year, and History of Sound, still for me, just completely don't understand how we're the only podcast in the world that liked that movie. But oh well.
Yeah, I would say that you have the hipster list, right? Movies that we liked, that you liked, and that nobody else recognized.
I feel like Wake Up Dead Man's pretty much a no doubt win, even though if for some reason it didn't get enough traction. The Netflix reason, it didn't get over the hill into 1 or 2 Oscar nominations.
And the sequel reason, that was part of it too.
Yeah, that's true. And the third in the series, and then because it's Netflix, there's no box office. If it had been like the first movie and was in the theaters for a couple of months, I think it would have permeated even more, but that's going to stand the test of time. I think, and I maybe the time before we started recording, I should have floated this. I think that Greg, what you should have said is that you had Josh O'Connor in all 4 movies, and then tell Jen when she's like, "What?" Be like, "Oh, you fell asleep during the part he shows up in the Phoenician Scheme, didn't you?"
He's just got a little role. I mean,
it's a cameo. It's like a minute and a half. Yeah. It's really funny. Can't believe you missed that.
With Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston. You'd love it.
That's so believable.
Yep.
But, well, now it's like, why isn't Josh O'Connor in a Wes Anderson movie? What are we doing?
He's been too busy.
That's true.
Yeah, it still cracks me up that I picked 3 out of 4, and that was like luck of the draw. And then there was a 4th. Like you really could have gone all Josh O'Connor last year, and Rebuilding was solid. Like it wouldn't have been a bad pick whatsoever. So
we have at least one performer this year that we can do that again. I don't know if anyone's going to try, but we do have at least one, pretty big name that we could run it back, build a one team.
Hey, Jen. Now that we've talked about my excellent movies, I think you also picked some movies.
Wow. I don't know if that degree of shade is necessary, but I will read my list. So I picked Frankenstein in the first round, and then I got After the Hunt, and then Sentimental Value and The Running Man. So I was looking back at this, it's like there's some high highs and some very low lows. Sentimental Value, I'm pretty happy with. It did get a big Oscar nomination haul. I personally was really happy. I think I was the highest on that movie out of all of us. And After the Hunt was just like big flare out. I would say Frankenstein's kind of in the middle, right? Because like a lot of critics didn't like that movie, but it did end up sticking around in the Oscar race, and had a lot of the broader audience really came out for that movie. So I would say it's just so funny because After the Hunt so transports me to that time of year that we did this hype draft last year, because at that time I chose it because everyone was like, well, this is Julia Roberts for Best Actress. This is going to get Best Picture nomination, screenplay. Like they were listing all these Luca for director before anyone had seen it. And then someone saw it and then was like, oh, never mind. So it's really interesting how like the too early Oscar predictions are too early for a reason. Right. And then lastly, The Running Man, which I have started watching.
I was gonna say, can you cast your memory back to when you watched that movie all of 5 hours ago when you texted us, started The Running Man? I have comments.
Yeah, so I'm probably just through the first act of that movie. Like he's actually running at this point, and it's not great. Not what you want.
Well, you haven't seen the best part, but you also haven't seen the worst parts.
Worst part? So, okay. It's on Paramount Plus, so I'll finish it because
But there are a lot of good people and fun performances. I think Coleman Domingo is living his best life in that role. He's really good. As you pointed out, Glenn Powell is putting on disguises, which he just wants to be a character actor. Like somebody just let him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right. Let's stop making him try to be the next Tom Cruise.
Just give him a Norbit. Just be like, here you go, buddy. Fine. You can do it.
Coleman Domingo probably is the only one who actually knows what movie he's in. Is what I would say.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin is in a way different movie from everyone else, I would say. Though I sort of was like, oh, I get what you're trying to do here, but like no one else is on board with this.
I kind of felt like Brolin knew what movie he was in, but really thought there'd be some other people to counterbalance what he was doing.
Yes,
and he only has Coleman Domingo, really, who's doing that. My overall take on The Running Man was that it felt like everything lined up. It was like, we can make this movie now. Glenn Powell's free. All these people are free. Let's go. And they Edgar Wright in the back of his mind was like, I need another 5 months to actually finish the screenplay. Because it does just feel like it's undercooked and there's a lot of good ideas. And it's interesting to make a more faithful adaptation of the book than the 80s movie was. But somehow, the 80s movie is still more fun, even though it's super cheesy and it isn't in any way good. But I had hoped that I would be like, yeah, this is much better than that movie, even though I have fun with it. But I don't know.
Good. I was just going to say, to support your case, I think they figured out the short story was 2025. And they were like, if we rush this, we can get it out in 2025.
Yes.
So that was part of that.
Because that really helped.
Good.
Right. Yeah. And look, here we are. Look at how it changed the world. But to speak highly, also though, I mean, Sentimental Value did win an Oscar. It won International Feature. I think it was great. Lots of people liked it. Frankenstein won 3 Oscars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Must be great to win multiple Oscars.
And honestly, I don't know if I would have guessed that because I think I remember I picked that one just because I was so afraid that it might not be good. And I was really glad on our episode when we reviewed it that we liked it. So
here's this, and that's a sensation we're going to be feeling again, I think, in the next 20 to 70 minutes, where we're like, I don't know about this movie. I really hope it's good.
Yep.
But I guess I'm going to pick it. I think that will come up.
All right, PT, tell us what you had. You arguably won the draft, I would say, if I can be so bold.
I mean,
arguably.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it yet, but I was going to bring up that I had I did pick first, and with my first pick, I of course picked everyone's favorite movie of last year, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and then in subsequent rounds, I took One Battle After Another, Materialist, and Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest. So in looking back at my team, I felt like it was interesting how I had this collection of movies that I had a good time with, that were really had deep, weird, bonkers flaws, but also had each of them had some element or sequence where I was like, this is awesome. And I can't wait to come back and watch just this part again, or this element. And that starts with Materialists, which I did not see in the theaters. I did not see until it was on Max. Never a great sign for one of your hype draft picks when the hype goes away and you don't actually watch it when it comes out. But I did like it. Please see the earlier episode with the other three people from the Long Take Review talking about it pretty positively. Although the cracks are already starting to show, for everyone being like, "Yeah, no, it's pretty good." I don't know, but it's got Pedro Pascal talking about leg lengthening. It has Chris Evans talking about being poor. It also has cavemen. What a weird movie. It's very, very strange. So that's fun. Made a little bit of money. People really generally didn't like it. Highest to lowest came and went. Nowhere to nothing was another way you could say it with the numeral 2. But it has two like very, very good scenes. It has the subway
Agreed.
Transition sequence, which also features like a Puerto Rican Day parade and a bunch of baseball fans who are heading to Yankee Stadium. And it has a great sort of standoff scene between two characters in a recording studio. That's kind of late in the movie, so I don't want to get into too much about who those people are. It also has extended times when it feels like a bad Lifetime movie, complete with the correct scoring for it. So that's not so great. Again, no money, no recognition, unless you want to talk about some more focused esoteric awards, but that's okay. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I did watch it again at home. Maybe I was too positive on it when we did our episode. However, once Tom Cruise jumps out of a helicopter into the water, it's a great movie for like an hour and like 40 minutes. Because you got Trammell Tillman and Katie O'Brien on a submarine. You have that extended long silent submarine crawl sequence, like a slow like exploration, almost like chase thing. You have a science rejecting Ben's case that he gets, like leaving, and then everything's building up to that biplane sequence, which is one of the best moments in movies this year. So unfortunately, there is also a first hour and a half, which is pretty bad, an extended previously on about what happened in the Mission Impossible movies, but that's okay. And then I have the best movie of the decade. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good lineup.
I just wanted to say, with all respect to Sinners, still, when Tom Cruise turns the wheel and it changes the aspect ratio, best moment in film last year, right? Like, Sinners also has a dramatic frame widening, but just perfect.
But it wasn't as tactile. So yeah, I mean, the big win for me, and again, if we were going to start to do some sort of a debate about like who's the winner, like it's all very fake in terms of like any attempts to label that. But I would just say like one battle after another, most successful movie of the year. I did look it up in case there was going to be a battle. Nominated for 459 awards.
Wow.
Award season, and won 227. Including 15 Oscar nominations, 6 wins, including picture, director, screenplay, supporting actor. Just like a march from the early critics awards up to the Oscars, winning every best picture thing basically along the way. It was great. It was excellent. I was remembering to again return to your thesis, Jen, about like it's such a fun snapshot at a point in time. I remember I picked first, and I was like, I gotta go with my heart. With Mission Impossible, which again I enjoyed half of. I greatly loved half that movie, and half of it is pretty bad on reflection. And then I waited a long time with a lot of movies being picked before I picked again, because that's how the process works. And One Battle for Another was still on the table, as was Materialists, and it's because both of them had teasers that had come out that looked bad. That were like, oh, this is what is happening. Like the One Battle teaser was just Leo walking through the grocery store and then going to the phone and trying to do the password thing. And it was like, that's the whole like, is this the movie? Like, what is going to happen? This doesn't make any sense. So yeah, like we didn't know. It still felt like a reach for me to like go that early, taking One Battle. And then, I mean, again, I won't quibble. Greg prefers Wake Up Dead Man. That was in my top 5 of the year as well. Great movie. Jen, if you want to say sentimental value, that maybe you like that better than One Battle, okay. If you would say that, I don't know if you would. But also like that's a clear top 5, top 10 movie of the year. but I had one battle, so I felt really good. I feel really good about it. I have one battle, and I have half of a Mission Impossible movie, and I have a couple of great scenes from 2 other movies, so I feel okay.
I like how I said off the top that you had won, and you still proceeded to spend many minutes arguing for what you had won.
Well, I wrote these notes, so
okay.
I feel like in the past, and I don't know, I feel like in the past there was more sparring of people try to jockey themselves into positions. Maybe there's only so much you can do in a situation like this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one battle was so undeniable. So that to me, I was like, oh, game over. He can win. It's fine.
Can I this is so dumb. So maybe edit me right out, but preemptively to combine 2 completely random pieces of this. So I had a long car ride this weekend. So I took a listen to, they just recently re-released the Stephen King short story, The Body, which is the short story that Stand By Me was based on. So Stephen King of the Running Man fame. And Will Wheaton, star of Stand By Me, reads the short story. So that's pretty fun. There is a moment in that short story from the mid-'80s where Stephen King writes that a character is in pain, and it says it goes from normal widescreen pain to VistaVision pain. I was like, my king, like, how did you reference VistaVision in the mid-'80s when nobody was thinking about VistaVision? And now all of us are always thinking about VistaVision. Thank you very much, PTA.
Amazing.
And Giovanni Ribisi, right? Isn't he the one who
had the camera? Yeah.
Did the cameras, yeah.
Unbelievable.
What a time.
He's on another planet talking to avatars, walking through holograms with Edie Falco. Jen never saw that movie, so she doesn't know.
I will say I distinctly remember because of the snake thing, and with 4 people doing 4 rounds, first pick gets last pick. That like before I had my last pick, the 3 of you, including Antonio, were like, "Oh wait, we got to pick what it's going to be." And I forget who said what, but 2 of you said Marty Supreme, and 1 of you said Avatar, Fire and Ash. And I did almost take out, like I had it. Avatar and Highest to Lowest were next to each other, and I was on my chart. And I was like, I want to try that. I'm going to do the Spike Lee movie. And I mean, if I had taken either of those movies, I mean, forget it. Those movies were so much better. That would have been great.
Sliding door moment.
I also want to celebrate that PT and I both saw all Hype Draft movies, right? We've the full slot. Jen, you'll finish Running Man, and I think you missed The Mastermind. Is that fair?
Correct.
I think you got
still have not watched that. I would like to.
You got to go jump on Mubi.
So that's our challenge to listeners before we even pick them. See all 15 of these movies, because we guarantee, the long take guarantee is that the Hype Draft is a set of films worth seeing this year.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Well said.
Or at least you can know what we thought would be good. Like you can remember our dreams.
Yeah, our hopes and dreams for the year. Well, let's move on to our hopes and dreams for the next year. So the way this is going to go is that I'm going to use a very official and totally not sketchy website called wheelofnames.com, and that is going to determine, this is what I use in class, so I'm just running with it. So that's going to determine the order in which we're going to pick our movies. And we're going to do a snake draft. So that, for those of you who are not familiar with drafts, that means that the last person, so whoever gets third pick, will get to pick 2 movies, and then we'll snake back around the other way. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, like there's 3 of us, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, going back and forth.
And since there are 3 of us, we have decided we need more movies, and so we're going to each pick 5 instead of 4, like we have in the past. Okay.
If we have energy for another round, we could make an audible, but I doubt we will.
I'm going to say we won't. Shutting that down right now. Okay. So do I need to explain anything else? I think that's the gist of it, right? And like, I guess we are trying to pick movies that we know are fairly confident are going to come out in 2026. However, if one movie that we pick does not come out in 2026, then you just don't get credit for it, right? That's what we sort of worked out.
Too bad, so sad.
This burned me for Dune Part 2, right?
Correct. And it also it reverse burned because Antonio wanted to pick what became Saturday Night, and we were like, we don't think that's coming out this year. And
And
he
it
was like,
did.
oh, okay.
And
And
it
he
was
picked
great.
something that he liked way less than Saturday Night, ultimately. I forget exactly what it was. I can't imagine why he doesn't want to come by anymore. But yeah. So yeah, we're doing the best we can. And I think, we all like what gets us hyped. It's each our own credentials or our own sort of qualifications. What is it we're excited about? And what's the roster of movies we want to sort of present next year as like, well, this is the person I was when we were selecting this, with some degree of like bragging rights if something turns out good, and then repressing the memory if it doesn't.
Shall I spin the wheel?
Please do.
Okay, here we go. Boop, 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 boop. It is actually making a noise. I don't think you can hear it. So even though I'm the one doing this, you have to believe me. I am going first. Which I'm kind of like upset about, maybe. I don't know. We'll
Greg,
see.
were you on mic when you said around Project Hail Mary that going first might be a curse?
I said I did not want. So I think there's enough. Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah,
who's going second?
I have mixed feelings about this, but we'll see. Who's going second? Second pick is PT.
Hey, I love it.
And then Greg is third pick. Okay, so we're gonna rearrange our. Okay,
I'm on it.
Great. Why do I have to go first? There's so much pressure. So
Oh, I was just gonna say to help buy you time to think that I going into this, I did think there's a clear first round. Like there's a clear 1, 2, 3 for the three of us. But as I thought about that, I was like, maybe there isn't. Maybe there are a couple others. But I think there's 3 pretty big movies that are like really in the Venn diagram overlap of all of. I mean, our tastes are pretty close, but still, there's 3 pretty big ones. I will also say now, while again felt great about the second half of Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, and I'm also the one person writing and or dying for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Little bit of a first pick curse running for the last 2 years. So something to keep in mind, Jen. Don't feel bad if whatever you take ends up, being only like pretty good, because it's let down a couple people in recent times.
So it's funny because like this choice to me, there's a clear number 1 pick, but at the same time, if you look at what's kind of right behind it, or other things that could be a number 1 pick, it actually becomes, and things that I'm also very excited for, then it becomes a little bit more like difficult. So I was kind of hoping not to go first. So so someone would take what I thought would be the first round pick, and then that would free me up to like kind of play around with all the other things. However, if I really think about it, it's a no brainer. There's only one movie that I already had tickets to a year in advance. And that's Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. This is guaranteed, regardless of how it actually pans out when it comes out. This is guaranteed to be the biggest movie released this year, for sure. The cast is crazy long with all these movie stars. Christopher Nolan coming high off his Oscar wins for Oppenheimer, and looking more closely at the crew for this movie, he's basically just rounding up the Oppenheimer crew again. Like is Ludwig Göransson doing the score, Jennifer LeMay doing the editing, Hoyt van Hoytema doing the cinematography. So like that gave me a lot of confidence, where I'm like, oh, it's gonna be the quality of Oppenheimer, just with the Odyssey. So yeah, I'm hyped, and I think this is probably the clear number 1 pick.
I like that you described that like he's just grabbing all his crew. They're going to a town in the desert, and they're just doing a secret project called The Odyssey.
Hope they make it back.
I completely agree that this was the obvious top pick. Again, we don't really have certain lanes for how to win this, but this is going to be a big Oscar player. It's going to make a ton of money and will hopefully be positive. But you exactly summarized why I didn't want the first pick, because I thought it would be foolish not to take this, but there's just so many interesting things. This just feels so set in stone. I think it's a little boring, even though it is the smartest pick by far.
Yeah, and also like it's boring because it's consensus, but also it's not boring because like this movie looks awesome and it looks like it's going to be great, and we're all excited for it. And Jen gets to draft it. Jen gets to have the movie, even though Jen, I believe, is the only person who didn't watch the 6-minute prologue in IMAX because Jen didn't go see Avatar Fire and Ash. So
Right.
we have seen 6 minutes of it, and it was great. It was so good. And at least when I saw it, got applause at the end because people were pumped.
I only saw Avatar in Dolby. I didn't see it in IMAX, so I haven't seen it either, actually. And I have made the decision. This is not going to last just because of my lifestyle. I'm going to try to not watch anything. Like I haven't seen the 6-minute prologue. I haven't watched any of the trailers. When the stories pop up to check out footage, I actually saw one still the other day, and I was like, well, that's the first still I've seen from the movie. So the only thing I'll add, the only thing that makes me nervous about it is there's no way to do the Odyssey without a bunch of CG stuff. And that's not always Nolan's cup of tea. I mean, unless they're doing like what's the Tim Burton movie? Oh, like Big Fish, where there's like the story and then like the real people. I don't think he's doing that version of the Odyssey. So I'm obviously very much in the bag for it. And my new mantra is, if I'm already excited to see the movie, I'm not going to watch endless trailers, see other films we'll be talking about tonight.
Fair.
Definitely panned out. I was gonna say that definitely panned out for me with Project Hail Mary. So you're onto something, Greg.
Mm.
And yeah, I would, I would definitely endorse that as well. It is difficult when you go to the movies and you want to like be there in time to like make sure you see things and you see trailers. But yeah, I think skipping trailers is a good thing, even though I just watched as many trailers as I could for the movies that I had on my list this year to be like, wait, does this actually look good? Like, let me double check. And I did a rearrange based on that. I echo everything Jen said about the first pick and choosing the Odyssey. I echo everything Greg said about not wanting it. I didn't want it. I did actually want to be where I ended up, which is pick number 2, partly because I had told myself, after really reflecting on and thinking about it, if I'd had the first pick, I would not have taken the Odyssey. And I was like, this would have been a mistake. Like, it would have been wrong. It would have been dumb. We would have done a whole Odyssey episode. It would have been like, well, remember when you didn't take this? And you would have been both right and correct in doing that. But if I had the first pick, I would have taken and will take with my second pick Dune Part 3. Because it's Dune. And I want to have Dune. I want to see it. It's the one I want to see the most. The Odyssey looks great. Again, and now confirmed, the only person who watched the prologue, it looked amazing. And I was so pumped. I was like, don't give me Avatar. Give me this movie right now. That's how I felt. That said, I do want to see Dune a little bit more. If I could only see one in like tomorrow, I would choose Dune Part 3. So, I've finished reading Dune Messiah. It took me like a year and 3/4, which is not a long book. It's barely 300 pages. I think it's under 300 pages. It's weird. They're apparently taking some stuff from one or two of the later books too. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know exactly how he's going to, massage it. How much he's adding to it. I think it might like feel weird for some people who don't quite understand the degree to which the main character is supposed to be a villain. But I am down. The trailer for this, again, we just talked about not watching trailers, but I did watch the trailer as soon as it came out for Dune Part 3 the day after the Oscars, and I was, again, hype level up through the roof. So I don't know if this will pan out. I don't know if I'm going to come to regret this, because this is going to be a huge letdown and a huge disappointment, but I am ready for Denis Villeneuve to complete the trilogy of the 2020s and to just be like, yep, these are 3 movies I'm just going to watch over and over again for the rest of my life and just get this whole complete Paul Atreides saga and feel great about it. So Dune Part 3 for my first pick.
It does really. So this was the one that I was like, personally, because I also love Dune, right? You can go back and listen to our episodes to know how much we love Dune. But that was the one where I was like, oh, that feels like a personal betrayal if I'm not picking that. But at the same time, I am a little nervous about it, just because it's not that I don't trust Denis Villeneuve. And in fact, like, I think he is the type of filmmaker who would look at a source material and be like, yeah, we got to change some of this. As opposed to, not to throw John M. Chu under the bus, but like, that was my biggest disappointment about Wicked for Good, is that there are clearly things that you probably could change and should change about the source material, and he just didn't. Like, so, but I don't think that's going to be necessarily a problem. That's not going to be the problem. But I do think that in interviews he has said that the tone and the look and the feel of this movie is purposely very different than parts 1 and 2. And I think on a previous episode, we were just talking about how I think PT realized that Greg Fraser is not the cinematographer on this one. And that I think he described it much more as like an action war movie. So that feels like a lot of like managing of my expectations. Like if you were in for 1 and 2, don't be thrown for a loop by 3. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous about it. Plus, like, from an Oscars perspective, like, is the Academy going to continue with sort of the drop off, or really will this be the part 3 naming of this? Definitely feels like they're trying to be like, nope, it's like Return of the King. Please pay attention. This is it, right? We're closing out the trilogy. But will that work, or it will be more like the Avatar movies that have diminishing returns for Oscar picks over time? So because people have fatigue about it, or they're like, we're good.
I went through a similar 7 stages with whether or not I'm excited for Dune Part 3, and in the end, I came down to Dr. Villeneuve : or How I Love to Stop Worrying and Love Dune Part 3, and I will admit, everything you said, the source material makes me very nervous. It's weird. And I just think the highs of the second one are so good that I would hate to see them ruin it. I think Wicked for Good was on my mind, that whatever positive vibes I had were just completely destroyed. And I had trouble now being like, we should watch the first Wicked because it's just such a mess to not get that satisfying conclusion. So I was very nervous. The trailer reassured me a lot because it had a lot of great shots and footage. I think moving Zendaya more into the center would be great. And that is not because I'm a big ballet and opera fan, but I just think in general that character is much more interesting. And part of the flaws of this is that as Paul changes, you don't get very much to hold on to. And if you instead put, I'm totally blanking on Zendaya's character's name, but
Chani?
What?
Chani?
Chani.
Chani, right?
you Massachusetts.
I've been reading the book, and I've got the boss of Chani. Chani, go down to the packy. Get me some butts.
You want to go to the packy? Yeah. So I think moving her to the center, and that's what the very end of the second film seemed to be doing. I think is very smart, and really my joke was accurate. I just trust Denis Villeneuve. He gets this material. I think he'll do something really special. And when a friend texted me, they were excited by that trailer. I said, I think just like PT said, I'm like, this will be up there with Star Wars, the original 3 Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, like those movies you just watch, Lord of the Rings, those movies you watch over and over and over again. So, and we finally get Villeneuve versus Nolan, which we missed out last time, but Oscars will be those 2 movies squaring off, I'm sure, at least in all the production categories. So,
yeah. I will note the first time we did a hype draft, it was just you and me, Jen. And I had zagged in the same way I would have zagged off the Odyssey. I zagged off Dune Part 2 to take Killers of the Flower Moon because I was like, I want Marty Scorsese. And Killers of the Flower Moon is a masterpiece. And Dune Part 2 didn't come out that year. So in the end, what a great choice by me. I'm saying that because a non-zero chance Dune Part 3 doesn't come out this year. They have the date and they have the IMAX screens locked up. But I wouldn't, the fact that it's coming out the same day as another big movie that will probably want the IMAX screens, but is a bigger franchise that probably won't want to move. Like negotiations could unfold, and suddenly Dune Part 3 is coming out in April 2027, and I'm just out of time. But so be it.
I feel like they would try to move it earlier into the fall.
I would think
they could.
So.
Yeah.
Especially if it's done, and it didn't really seem to help them that much last time to move it later, both in terms of Oscar stuff and maybe even with box office. I will just note, Jen, when you said that you read the interview that said this is more of like an action war movie, all I thought about was that sequence where the Thopters were firing on the Fremen around the spice mining from Dune Part 2. And I was like, oh, a whole movie like that? Okay. Can I get the first pick? Can we do this over so I can get the first pick and take it first again? Because I want to do that. That sounds amazing.
So when my son and I go to the movies, we play a game during the trailers, which we sit there and we watch the trailer and then we thumbs up or thumbs down and we compare. You're allowed to go sideways to say not so much. And now it's all complicated because he likes to do the Rocky thumbs down to mean good now and so on. But I will say that what the best feeling in the world is when we saw Project Hail Mary, we saw a bunch of movies that we'll talk about tonight. But when Dude 3 came on, he went sideways. I said, "Why sideways?" And he said, "Because you need to show me the first two, and then I'll go see that one with you." And I was like, "Yes, let's go, So very excited to go on that journey with my son because I think I think he wasn't quite there, and now those are a little scary, but really fun movies. So I'm excited. I actually am worried more about boredom than fears. I think like he'll just tune out because
they're not always fast.
The pacing. Yeah. All right. Jen took my script on her pick. PT took my script, which is I had come to the conclusion that if I went first, I was not going to pick the Odyssey. And then when PT gave that preamble, I'm like, son of a gun, he's taken mine. Like, how dare he? But I will tell you triumphantly, he did not. And I think this is probably hearkening back to when I picked Megalopolis as my first, but my heart belongs to just one man. And there's a reason I have the theme song I have. So I will say my number one pick is Disclosure Day by Uncle Steven Spielberg. And, before Jen arrived on the Zoom call, I was telling PT that I love Hype Draft episode because this is where you're allowed to hope dict. And this is like vote with your heart. And more than anything, I want this to be like a big, silly, fun blockbuster from Steven Spielberg. And, I have all the fears, like actually pretty similar fears that there's some wonky CG in the trailer, but the little taste of the train. And then you remember this is like him making good on his Fabelmans moment and doing his own train action scene. It got me really pumped. And he just gave a fantastic interview with The Big Picture, which I highly recommend you can watch on Netflix and actually just watch Sean and Steven Spielberg talking instead of just listening. And it made me really excited. And then Obama helped out with a little viral marketing where he revealed that maybe he knows there's already UFOs and aliens amongst us. So I think it's really there. And that means I officially get to do year 2 of O'Connor Watch as the Hype Draft continues. So I'm very pleased to have this. If it's terrible, will break my heart, but I feel very good picking it on March 30th.
I felt pretty confident. I was like, I think if Greg goes first, he'll take Disclosure Day, because I was like, Greg has watched every Steven Spielberg thing in the last, maybe not everything in the last one, but you caught up on all your Spielberg. You have been prepping for Spielberg season that is looming and coming down the line. I forget how clearly I said this, but I was like, I think there's a clear 1, 2, 3. And I think it worked out exactly the way it should. I was like, Jen should have the Odyssey. Greg should have Disclosure Day. I'd like to have Dune Part 3. And if it shifted around at all, I would have been happy with any of those movies here in the front. But this is the pinnacle. This is the long take review trinity at the top of 2026. This is what we're looking for. This is what we're hoping are 3 powerhouses at the end of the year for what was the best movie of the year is one of these 3, right? With, hopefully some surprises along the way that we didn't expect. But that great pick. I really want this for like everything you said. I really want this to be, give me Close Encounters, E.T., Disclosure Day as the Spielberg alien set that go together as wonderful movies. With all due respect,
in that interview,
the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, this is great. I had a feeling this would be Greg's number one for all the reasons that PT just said. And I just really hope what a great summer we would have if the Odyssey and Disclosure Day were hits. You know what I mean? That just sounds so fun. Because the Odyssey's coming out July 17th, I believe. And then Disclosure Day is after that. I want to say.
I think it's before. I think it's June.
Before?
It's June 29th. 12th.
Okay. So if we got one a month. That seems like a good spread if both of those are great. So
I quote PT all the time when he says any other filmmaker would give their left foot to have a run like Bridge of Spies, West Side Story, The Fablemans, but we've taken it for granted. So I hope that this is so fun that it breaks through that cloud as a part of that.
Yeah, and I feel like I've listened to a bunch of critics when they talk about this movie being like, I don't know, late stage Spielberg, kind of dicey. And I'm like, that's disrespectful. Let's
just forget the BFG. There's a bunch of other movies that are great.
But also this seems like a really cool, like he's gone full circle kind of moment, right? Kind of, because in that interview with Sean Fennessy, he did spend a lot of time talking about E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? So we could have a return to form kind of narrative if this movie hits, which could be really cool.
And he also revealed I thought there was a chance he would in the press cycle be like, "Yep, this is it, I'm retiring." But he said up next is his Western, which is
he's clearly
exciting.
A workaholic. Oh yeah.
Very cool. All right, so I think PT was right. Those were the three kind of obvious ones. I think it gets really interesting after this, and and just to preview, like behind the scenes, I made a list. I had I made a blockbuster lane, an awards lane. I have an indie critical darling lane, like trying to rank all these. And then after I wrote all that, I just said, okay, if Jen and PT call in sick and it's just me, what are the 5 I would pick? And I will say Dune Part 3 was on that list. So I'm already not getting there in the complete. So all that being said, there was then one lane that I don't think counts as a blockbuster. I would highly doubt it's Oscar level material. And I really would be surprised if it's kind of an indie critical darling. But when I looked at the list of like what's coming out this year, there was one that made me really happy, even though it betrays so much of my lifestyle. And yet, I'm going to say it, I will be taking for my number 2 pick, The Adventures of Cliff Booth. I am so excited for this movie. I can see on your faces, you weren't expecting me to say those words, but I am so excited to see the extension of the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood story. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is barely pre-long take review, right? Would that be the season before we really got going?
It's pre-pandemic. It was 2019. It was a few years.
Okay, so it's a little earlier even than that.
That time doesn't exist.
So
everything's a mess.
I will just say I absolutely love that movie. That is, I like a lot of Tarantino. It doesn't fit my taste profile in a lot of ways, but I love his movies. I love his writing, and he's a weirdo who should probably be locked up, but otherwise makes great movies. So, but I think the excitement of like Brad Pitt really loving this character and want to return, and then the idea of Fincher boarding the project with Tarantino's stories ideas. All of this works for me. And then the only thing I came away from, it was Super Bowl night, right? When the trailer aired. That was the only thing I heard any buzz on after the Super Bowl trailer. I heard a lot of people mad that Mando and Grogu just delivered beer with tauntauns. But I also only heard excitement about this. So, it's a little bit of a zag for me, but I think it's going to be great. It doesn't fit any of those categories because it's probably just a Netflix release, although I'm hoping I can see it in the theater in whatever short run they do. And maybe it's got some awards chances, but I'm pretty stoked about it. So there you go. Breaking out of my mold. I'm taking that for my number 2.
I think this is great. I think this is a great pick. I don't have it in these slots that you have. They're sort of the categories, which is very smart, but I didn't arrange them sort of by grouping so much as just tiers of interest. And the top 3 were the top 3. This was number 2 on my, like the next tier. I was just like, well, I'm not going to be excited about a movie written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by David Fincher and starring Brad Pitt as his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood character, like 70s LA. What are we doing? Like, what are we talking about? That won't be fun. There's some hope. There's some hope. There's some rumors that even though the Netflix buying Warner Brothers deal fell apart, there was enough in this is maybe this is Sean Fennessy his version of hope dictating that because they were running so many numbers around the idea of putting movies in the theaters, that like Netflix is going to be more open to having movies in the theater longer than they have been before, because they realize it does actually make them money and increases the footprint of their releases. And like Greta Gerwig demanded it for Narnia, and so I'm hoping that you're right, that this will have some play outside of just being the top splash page on Netflix for a week and a half, and then hang out between 8 to 10 on the top 10 movies for a month, and then you got to remember it's there in the future. But yeah, this is, we are immediately in the like a danger zone of like, oh, I guess this could be awful, right? Like if you came back from the future in a year from now and you were like, that movie was terrible, like I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm excited as hell for it. I'm ready to see it. Let's go. There's a decent chance I'll watch it over and over again, even if it's bad, because it looks like it'll be fun. Jen, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, for the Super Bowl ad, I thought it was just a big flex that they didn't even say the name of the movie. They were just like, you're just going to, if you know, you know. And I thought that was great. And also, like, to me, this movie is such an unusual crucible because it's Tarantino's script, but Fincher directing. And I'm really curious to see, like, kind of what does that baby look like? What's the DNA of that? I don't know. But I do think that when I think of what those two directors have in common, it is irreverence. And their humor is like sort of similar. Like, yes, like Fincher is like super disciplined. Like their directing styles couldn't be more different from what I know about them. But at the same time, if you think about Fincher's stuff that is serious, there's always an undercurrent of kind of wry humor. And I feel like that could work really well with a Tarantino script. So yeah, I'm part of this is like just a huge question mark. Like, what is this movie even going to be like? But I think it will be even if it doesn't pan out, it will be interesting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'll just note there's the three movies with Quentin Tarantino either written by or story by credits. They're all from the 90s, but it's True Romance, Natural Born Killers, and From Dusk Till Dawn. If it's at the level of any of those movies, like, again, you're having a good time. You're going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I have to say thank you to the person who went before me, because I was like, what am I going to do? Like, where am I going to go? I had two movies, and I was like, I think I know the one that I want to put forward first. Both of them are sequels to movies, but I already took a sequel. I took Dune Part 3. It's like, am I going to take two sequels back to back? But I also, now that once I knew I'm in the middle, fifth spot, blah, 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 I was like, it's got to be either Cliff Booth or this other movie. And I think in my heart, I was like, well, this is the one that I would have wanted anyway. And it is the next installment in, a long running franchise, but a recent iteration of it. I will be taking Godzilla -0 for my second pick. I'm super excited for this movie. Godzilla -1 was one of my favorite movies of the last few years. And it's everyone, at least behind the scenes, everyone is back. I have not seen any official word on any of the actors, if they're going to follow the same characters besides Godzilla. Maybe they won't. I don't know. How does it get from -1 to -0? I don't know. Like, what a crazy numbering system. But again, like I'm kind of taking this, like, as I made a full list, similar to sort of maybe what Greg was saying. I made this list and I had all these tiers. When I was sort of looking within the tiers, I was like, what do I want to see right now? What's the thing I would love to see tomorrow? If someone was like, I have an early screening available, I would want to see Godzilla -0 and see what happens. This could be a mess. Maybe that was a one-shot wonder and it's just going to be another whatever Godzilla movie, of which there have been many over time. But if nothing else, I'm going to see a big lizard rise up out of the water and destroy a bunch of things. Like, pretty cool. Like, I'm not going to have a bad time with a kaiju at base level. So I will at least have that experience, and that will be exciting. And I trust that this Academy Award winning VFX team, that's the director and his cohorts, will really bring the sauce to make sure this movie looks great. And if they can get the story even remotely near as effective as it was in the first one, then I'm going to be sitting pretty. So Godzilla -0, pick number 2.
Do we know if the story will have any relationship to -1?
I don't know that, but I also didn't want to dig too deep into the
Okay, for spoilers, sure.
But there's only been an announcement of the title and a release date, and I don't think there's been anything else that's coming out in November.
I'm seeing that they have promised a little preview, some footage at CinemaCon, which is
Okay.
not
Ooh.
far away, right?
No.
Yeah, that's in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so that might give us a clip, but PT, I will just say I actually had not heard this was coming, so that's very exciting to me to learn, and it seems pretty certain that it'll be out in November. They've claimed a date, so Godzilla -1 totally shocked me how absolutely wonderful it is, and I think I'm not a long-term Godzilla fan. I think I've actually seen the worst Godzilla movies, primarily like the Matthew Broderick one and some of those. But I'm there day and date, and that's a great pick. I'm excited.
Is this PT Core? Not to riff on our last episode where we talked about
we
Gen
needed
4.
to find it more, but this could be in PT Core.
I mean,
we need different branding.
It has a wing. Like there's if it's like if I have like an estate, this definitely has its own like section. Or I don't know what the best imagery for it is, but yeah, there's definitely just monsters crushing things.
Love it. All right. So I am very torn between 2 picks right now. And part of it is because I get 2 picks.
You have 2 picks in a row now.
I forgot about that. Okay, sorry.
But now you have to decide who you want to bestow the honor on.
Yes, who's going to get the second round?
Yeah. Okay, so this actually works out perfectly. Yes.
We're going Gen Core. I feel it. I feel some Gen Core coming on.
I don't. Well, maybe we'll see. Okay, so my first pick. And part of this was like, I don't know how much awareness of this movie there is amongst us. So I am going with a film called Behemoth! ! Okay. All right. The fist pumping and the grimacing is making me think that I made the right choice. Okay. So this is a film written and directed by Tony Gilroy.
Woo!
Yeah.
The GOAT. Yes. All-timer writer, director. So obviously, I will watch anything that Tony Gilroy has written. Like that's just like a blanket statement I'm willing to make. But the more I learned about this movie, the more I was like, oh, this is probably something I really like. It's starring Pedro Pascal. It was actually originally a vehicle for Oscar Isaac. And then he had to exit, I think, to go make another movie. I'm trying to remember. There was
Bring
a reason.
me another Star Wars man. Quick.
Yes.
Another Star Wars Latino. Diego Luna can't come. Okay.
They just all have like a Slack channel with and they're like, are you gonna take this one? I'll take it. Okay. Anyway, sorry, joking aside. So this movie, all we know about it is that it is about a cellist and Hollywood movie composer, and that is who Pedro Pascal is playing, a musician and composer named Alex Sarian. I could not find any information about if this is based on a real person, so I think it's not. And the premise is that he has become like this big composer and then returns to Los Angeles for some reason, right? It's like there's not a lot of information about this movie yet. But the thing that really got me was that I learned there are a total of 9 composers working on the score for this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sounds bonkers. And actually, there was an interview recently, like a post-mortem on Andor that Tony Gilroy did. I can't remember with which outlet, but it was kind of his way of being like, all right, now I'm not promoting this, can actually talk about it more honestly. It's a really good interview if you want to go check it out. But towards the end, they start asking him about this movie, and he said that not Nicholas Bertel, but the other main composer who really did a lot of stuff for Andor season 2 is partly what, and working with the 2 of them, and I feel bad that I'm not getting his name right, so I'm gonna look it up. Brandon Roberts is the other Andor composer, and apparently from working with both of them, he really was, and especially watching the full orchestra perform the score for Andor inspired him to make this movie. And that he was like, there's got to be, I think his quote is like, there's got to be a movie in here, meaning like about composing music for movies and TV. So I think everything I learned about this movie makes me more excited for it. Other interesting casting tidbit is that David Harbour exited because he's just too spent from Stranger Things, and they cast Will Arnett to take his place, which I think makes that potentially more interesting. And then the rest of the cast includes Ava Victor, Olivia Wilde, and Matthew Lillard. So,
Life of Chuck's Matthew Lillard? Wow.
Yes, he was
LTR nominee for Scene Stealer or whatever we called that.
Featured performer. Fresh off being in the secondary bullseye of Quentin Tarantino, writer of The Adventures of Cliff Booth.
So, yeah, that's my first pick. So, I don't know. Was this on anybody's list? I assume yes, because you were both like, when I said it. Okay.
It was on my list for all the reasons that you said. It was like I was more fist pumping that it got picked because I had it much lower for the reason that may or may not be the reason why you were hesitant about it. It does not have a release date and it may not come out this year.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, technically neither does Cliff Booth. It did have the Super Bowl commercial. It had a date at one point and then that date has been removed. So that's the Cliff Booth movie. But yeah, I mean, it's Tony Gilroy. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, let's see it. Let's see it. Let's show the movie. Show me the movie.
The Wikipedia page does say that they started filming in October of last year.
Yeah.
So,
and it finished in January. So, it's
right. So it's
totally feasible. But I just, again, for my tiers, I was like, if I don't know it's coming out, am I going to pick it at, in an early round? Just personally, that's. But
I have no idea why it's called Behemoth! I could not find anything about that.
I'm going to guess that's the name of the movie they're scoring in the
fake
movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
But why the exclamation point?
Yeah, my dear listener was the angry fist grimace because I really thought nobody else had found this one. And that's always naive because you two are much deeper on the internet than me. But in my research, I found this and I was like, yep, this is automatic. And then Jen, you hit all the highlights, but I was very excited to see Ava Victor, on the list of cast because I don't know how you see Sorry Baby and don't try to put her in everything because she was so endearing and so on. And also just a subtle flex, my last physical media purchase was a DVD of Michael Clayton, which is a pretty good reason to be excited about this movie, even if you don't want to, follow Andor. Yeah, I have lifetime Tony Gilroy tickets, so I'm very excited for this.
Michael Clayton, a definite masterpiece. Don't look up what the other two movies he's written and directed are, if you don't want to like lose the shine of Michael Clayton, but that's okay. I will just note, because I'm in a house with a Lily Allen fan, I should note David Harbour was not just quote unquote tired from Stranger Things. He he's had a little bit of a breakdown and is partly because he did dirty to a woman who likes to make albums about guys she doesn't like, and she released an album that was basically like, here's every terrible thing you ever did to me and every lie you ever told me. And he went to rehab when it came out. So that's partially why he left the movie. He was found wandering around like San Diego, like, bothering people at gas stations. Like he was in a bad place for a couple of weeks. So
it was method acting for DTF St. Louis, which is the tile I see every time I turn on nice. HBO Max.
But Jen, great pick.
All right,
Tony Gilroy.
I get a second one.
Yep.
So I'm gonna be kind of cute with this. We're going double Pedro with the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yes,
and I've heard a lot of people in our circle of movie critics that we follow. Look, no one's excited about this movie other than Star Wars fans. And there are claims being made constantly that even Star Wars fans somehow are not interested in the idea of this movie. But let me tell you, they just put out a promotional video today with PT's laughing at me.
It's just funny. It's like, well, what about Star Wars fans? And it's like, yep, here we are. Like, of course, even if that was true, it doesn't matter for us. It won't matter for us. We're in it. Sorry, Jen, I'm interrupting.
Anyway, so they put out today a promotional video with Sigourney Weaver and Pedro Pascal sitting at a table with Jon Favreau and Grogu in between them. And I was just completely enchanted. And I was like, this is adorable. I love everything about this. I really want to see this movie. So I think, even if this movie is just a fun time at the movies, I think it's going to feel so good to have Star Wars back in the movie theaters. I think out of the three of us, I'm probably the most into the Mandalorian and specifically Grogu because that's Gen Core, right? Like we've discussed this before. So it just feels this is my like I'm choosing with my heart. Maybe this would have gone a couple more rounds before someone chose this. I'm not sure, just because the buzz on it is pretty low and people are kind of like, well, we'll wait and see. This might just be a TV show that got stretched into a movie. But I'm excited. I'm hyped.
I will dive in and say I bought my first merch for this movie the other day.
Yeah.
I found a full rack of the action figures at Target. Boy, Sigourney Weaver dressed as a rebel pilot is also very tempting. It's just kind of amazing to see a thing like that. So yes, and that's also my way of proving my love and loyalty to my most beloved franchise, which I'm skeptical of this movie, but I'll be there. I've bought the merch. I will show up. I actually was just making sure that I have the right pre-orders in my AMC app so that it can all get cleared out of the way to load up on like 3 Thursday screenings and 3 Friday screenings when the time comes, and plan ahead for that. So, yeah, and I think really I've been trying to protect my heart by putting this pretty low on my hype list so that I can go in with the lowest expectations and get wowed. But the only other thing I'll add to what you said, Jen, because you covered almost all of it, is Favreau makes good movies. Like he hasn't missed a lot in theaters, Cowboys and Aliens maybe aside. But for the most part, he knows how to do this, and I'm excited to see this get there. I am very much not excited for discourse, good or bad. There's just going to be so much discourse around this film about, is Star Wars dead? Is Disney dead because Star Wars is dead? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, this is finally a good Disney movie. Screw those other ones. I'm just not excited for Star Wars fans to be Star Wars fans. But as a Star Wars fan who can go see a movie, I'll go see a movie.
When you were talking about, we were recapping last year and you were like, Frankenstein, I had to pick it because I was worried about my heart. That's where I was with Mandalorian and Grogu. I will say, if you had not taken it this time, it would not have made its way back to you. Okay. I don't know if I would have taken it now, like, this round, but on the return, if it was still on the board, I was taking it for sure. So you made the right call there. I mean, I'm going to go see a Star Wars movie in the theater. That's going to be great. There's a little bit of, trepidation. And I think this is part of that energy where, a lot of that energy is just the bulging wave of negativity that has surrounded Star Wars for the last 9 years. But I think that for personally, at least, it was the last time I was like, okay, all right, well, it's going to be good. Like I'm going to go in, it's going to be fine. It was, in my opinion, the worst Star Wars movie that's ever been made, which is The Rise of Skywalker. Like, I really didn't like that. That was really the only time I've left the theater and been like, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like it at all. Like, there was nothing, apart from maybe 1 or 2 moments, there was nothing I liked. I can't imagine that will happen with the Mandalorian, because it has Mandalorian and it has Grogu, as evidence in the title, has Sigourney Weaver in a flight suit, and also a jacket, which looks cool. So I'm going to have a good time. And I actually think the sort of is this just a TV show? And then they made it into a movie, considering that I think another, issue maybe around this is that I believe a lot of people were like, Mandalorian season 3, what were we doing? What was happening there? How did that work out? I do think if that's the story of that season had been told in 2 hours, it would have hit a lot better. So I'm just going in assuming this was the idea of season 4, and they realized, okay, this will just work better as one story. Let's put it on the big screen, and let's go. And so yeah, I'm into it, and I'm never going to be upset to see Star Wars.
Greg, I was also thinking about, remember that episode that had Jack Black and Lizzo in it? That was weird.
That episode also has Christopher Lloyd as a bad guy. Who was,
that's what I was going to say. So and how is it crazy that Christopher Lloyd was in Star Wars and we forget because the other 2 were there? Hey, Jack Black, he would be great. He would drive that box office, right? See Mario Galaxy 2 coming this week and probably being the biggest movie of the year.
Yeah.
So.
And Minecraft.
Whoa, hey, Greg. Still eligible. It hasn't come out yet, so let's not start dropping any names.
PT's up next.
Yeah. Anyway, Super Mario Galaxy, of course. No, I won't do that. I'm gonna go. Is this going to be an awards player? I don't know, but this is like the next one. It's the next movie I have on my list, and I have to believe in myself when I order these things in a way that makes sense. I'm excited for this. It is a little bit of a roll of the dice because I'm always worried that this person's movies are they don't always connect with me, but for the most part, I have been very on board. I will be taking the next movie written and directed by Martin McDonagh called Wild Horse 9. Which the trailer for that came out a couple days ago or the end of last week, maybe, which is also a couple of days ago because it's Monday. I don't know what time is anymore. But it is Sam Rockwell and John Malkovich as what seem to be a couple of political assassins who are bickering in the Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson in Bruges mold. And they seem to be located in some sort of South American country in the 70s, or maybe early 80s, on some sort of disruption mission. The Ray Fiennes boss on the phone is in this movie is Steve Buscemi. Tom Waits and Parker Posey are also in this. I really enjoy Martin McDonagh's screenplays. I like his dialogue. I like his characters. The idea of it's another movie about a couple of killers on the road who are bickering, feels a little maybe repetitive of In Bruges. That's my main concern, but also if you give me another In Bruges, am I going to be upset? Absolutely not. So yeah, this is aiming, has a release date. This is a November release. As you may recall, his last movie, The Banshees of Inisherin, lots of nominations, no wins. Sam Rockwell won an Oscar for being in a Martin McDonagh movie. Which movie was that? Who can recall at this point? But this may be a little make good. I could see a screenplay push for this. I could see what's up with John Malkovich? Has John Malkovich gotten enough prizes over the years? So I'm taking this as a movie I'm very excited about. I really want to see. I am confident I will very much enjoy it, and I also think it might have some traction come award season next year.
Great pick. I was actually shocked there was a trailer out for this because it's a November 6th, I think, release date. So I was like, oh, wow, there's a trailer out already. But per my new policy, I didn't watch it. But, the further I read into that cast list, I guess from what I understand from hearing my wife talk is Parker Posey's having a moment with White Lotus. But Parker Posey is somebody who we should never have sold off our stock in. Culturally, I feel like she kind of got left behind for a hot minute, and she's just always so good. When I caught up finally on Best in Show, per Antonio not being my friend anymore if I didn't watch it, I was like, oh, Parker Posey's so good. She's just amazing in everything. And even Beau is Afraid, where she shows up for 5 minutes and owns it, was great too. So I think this is really exciting. I liked Malkovich's movie last year. I think I was the only person maybe on the planet who did, but Malkovich as Aging Pop Star was still a great time, and I'm excited about that. I think Banshees of Inisherin, with apologies to Jen, is just a masterpiece of a film, and everybody should see it over and over. Sorry, Jen, it's set in Ireland. That's what I meant. So it's a great pick and would have been on mine. I don't know if I would have gotten to it quite this fast. So I'm glad you get it if you're this excited about it.
Yeah, this movie just looks
It's a Jen with nothing to say. Martin McDonagh.
Yeah, well, part of it's you've made me afraid to say anything because then. But no, I mean the trailer for this made it look really fun, really funny. I mean, I second everything that you both said. Irish comments withstanding, and I'm really looking forward to Sam Rockwell being on the Oscar trail potentially if this works out. That would be really fun. And the other thing I'll say is that the Prestige Junkie, they were doing a trailer catch up last week, I think, or whenever this had just come out, and I think none of the, oh no, it was there was another movie that had just come out, and they watched it live together. But they were kind of going through all the recent trailers that have been dropping, and when they got to this one, they were like, "Oh, we really are looking forward to the Vanity Fair cover with all of the actors from Big Lebowski who might now have Oscar chances." And then they were like, Rebecca Ford, who's the only one left that they're friends with, who works at Vanity Fair. Don't steal that idea. We want to do that. The Ankler's going to do that. So I got a big chuckle out of that. But I think they were saying that like basically none of those actors have ever been nominated. If that's true.
Well, Jeff Bridges has, because he won.
Oh,
he
that's true. Okay.
A few times and won. But John Goodman somehow never has, and I don't think Steve Buscemi has either. Which is
right.
crazy.
And they were talking, yeah. So they were sort of they were excited about the idea of a lot of those actors getting their chance.
A lot of Emmys nominations for our friend Steve Buscemi, but not no Academy Awards.
Yeah, and I think in the trailer they list him as Golden Globe, and people were like, "What was that for?" And it was for Boardwalk Empire.
Well, he won for Boardwalk Empire. He was nominated for Ghost World in Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes. Okay. Pretty good nom. Also great Independent Spirit Awards in 1992, Best Supporting Male for Reservoir Dogs. So pretty strong work, indies, on that one.
Nice. All right, Greg, what's your next pick?
Oh, I've been struggling while you've all been talking. I mean, I've been listening really carefully and thinking about it. So that was, when you're on the end, it's a lot of movies gone before it comes back around. And so my top 5 list got somewhat decimated now. And again, I'm most upset about Behemoth because I really thought nobody would have found that. So. And I just wanted to throw out there, because I'm the only one who saw it. Sam Rockwell already had a movie out this year called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Gore Verbinski came back and directed a new movie with Sam Rockwell, and it was really fun. So if people miss that one, I'm not going to say it's like a 5-star, but you'll have a good time. And, the Big Picture recently did a who are the Hollywood stars that have been failed by Hollywood, and they did it on the occasion of Rachel McAdams in Sent Help, being like, why hasn't Rachel McAdams been in 10 amazing movies lately? I would put Sam Rockwell in that category, despite him having an Oscar. He just disappears for long stretches of time and always comes back with cool, interesting things. So I'm very excited about that. Filler. All right. So I haven't picked anything from my blockbuster lane, and there are some really good blockbusters on the list still, but I think I'm going to keep it laid aside. So I'm going to go... Still haven't made up my mind. I'm going to go Digger, because Digger is one I really, really want to believe in. So Digger, as people may know from the dancing teaser trailer that was put out there, this is a new film by Inarritu, who I think in Oscar Fairy universe does not have Oscars anymore, but does have an Oscar.
I think he has a screenplay Oscar.
Okay, but he took away his directing Oscar.
Well, look. Flaws may have come through in the process. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, which I said at the time, every time, and no one listened to me.
Well, you have veto power, but you didn't stop it.
I tried in a couple of cases. Anyway, continue, Greg.
I will say I am not the biggest Inarritu fan in the world, but for a long time, Tom Cruise and or Christopher McQuarrie, who may be two different people, but maybe one person, have been promising that Tom Cruise still has some Magnolia level serious performances in him. And while they set the tone of Digger to be pretty comedic from that teaser trailer, and I think it is comedic, I am really interested to see what this is. So it had me from the teaser. It had me at Tom Cruise in something more serious. And then you look at that stacked cast. We got your Plemmonses. We got your Sandra Hüllers. We got your Riz Ahmeds. We got your Michael Stuhlbargs. We've got so many LTR favorites and or people we just love but haven't been nominated for it. And I think you were dancing around this moments ago, But I've heard a decent chance that John Goodman could be on the Oscar trail with a chance to get a Best Supporting Actor nomination, which he's definitely one of those actors that, is always elevates whatever part he's in. I recently, actually it was like a year ago, but like when he shows up for a minute in Llewyn Davis, you're like, man, John Goodman's the best, right? Like, and so many films where he just shows up for a little while, not just Coen Brothers movies, but a lot of Coen Brothers movies. He was the maybe he's Cyclops in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey too. Like, we don't know; it hasn't been there yet. So, but I will take Digger on the strength of all of those names and hope dicting that'll be really fun, even if it's like absolutely ridiculous.
I think that if Tom Cruise can get in the Best Actor conversation for this, and I think that is possible because I think people have been waiting for him to do something like this, right? Like, they've just been like, hey, remember when Tom Cruise was trying to be in dramatic movies? We liked that a lot. What happened with that? Mission Impossible happened. That's what happened. But I think that if he can sort of like do something really arresting and surprising in this role, having him be a part of the Oscars race would be incredibly fun. And everyone would be happy about it. I honestly, and especially the narrative of like, oh, he's already won his honorary one, but he's now going to win a competitive one potentially. Like, yeah, I think I see no downsides. As the one who's probably the most pro Inarritu out of everybody on here, the only thing that's throwing me for a loop is this calling itself a comedy, which I think Amanda Dobbins in The Big Picture sort of had a rant about. I don't have a rant about that, but the tone of this seems like it's going to be very unusual and not quite, maybe won't be as showy dramatically as something like Michael Keaton and Birdman. So, but still sort of like the Cliff Booth pick. So maybe, Greg, this is the theme of your list. Like, I just want to see what this looks like. I'm so curious. Like, my curiosity for this plus Cliff Booth is very high just because of who's involved and how it's different than what all those people normally do. That I think it could be really good.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm almost like, I'm just glad someone took it so I didn't have to think about it every time it came back to my pick, because I've been sitting there being like, I don't know, like, because we don't know a lot about it. I'm like, but maybe I should take it. Like, it's been each of these last two rounds, it's been there as an option, kind of hanging on the edge of on the edge of things for me. So I'm glad it was picked. I will gladly regret not taking it earlier if it's great. And I hope that it is. It's interesting to remember the time, I mean, which was, I guess, the 90s, basically, when, Tom Cruise had, like, he'd make his Tony Scott movies, but then he also was like, I'm going to make a movie with, like, an auteur director, and I'm going to try to go from auteur to auteur. Oliver Stone, Ron Howard, Sidney Pollack, Cameron Crowe, Paul Thomas Anderson, Stanley Kubrick was, of course, like, that's the one that ate up, maybe destroyed his life. We don't know. But ate up a lot of time. Might have been the end of his marriage. Unclear. But, that he had this, like, whole, like, thing in him, and he had this, like, burning desire, which kind of felt like he's trying to get an Oscar, but also was like, I want to balance between my action self and my, my popcorn movie person and my serious movie person. And, he's just been all popcorn for 15, 20 years, basically. American Made aside, a movie that I know exists, but I've not seen it. Doug Liman, maybe not at the level of those other directors, but yeah, this is exciting that he's back. And I will say, yeah, I'm not as strong on Iñárritu as Jen is, but I kind of really liked Bardo. Like, I was the person that was like, what movie's pretty good? Bardo. Like, it's real weird. It kind of goes all over the place. And, the fact they're billing it as a comedy, thinking about Bardo and thinking about Birdman as, like, they're kind of funny, but they're funny in a very weird way. If that's what we have, and we have Tom Cruise, Sandra Hüller, John Goodman, that whole cast that Greg mentioned, like, doing their thing and making some weird stuff happen. Yeah. Like, that could be incredible. Or it could be something totally different from what we're picturing, because they're trying to freak us out. I don't know. But yeah, this is good. This is a good pick. And I hope Greg realizes, when he was stressing about what to do, that, like Jen last time, he does have another pick, because we're stinking.
I do, and I feel like there's high pressure on this pick because this is like my last one's just whatever's left, totally free for all. But because I'll be last in the weird snake
Yes.
pattern, and I'm only saying weird because it's uneven. I understand snake in general. So yes, I will just close the Digger conversation by saying when I listed all those names, I was like, you know what? Even if the movie's not good, every single one of those people is incredible. So I can't wait for that. All right. So I stand by what I said before, and this was part of that comment was I knew I had two picks, and I am going to neglect my blockbuster list, even though there's some good material out there. I need to make sure I get a shot at acting and best picture nominations. I don't anticipate we just talked about Digger potentially. I don't really anticipate Disclosure Day or Cliff Booth being there. So I'm going to push a little into weird territory, and I'm going to go with Fjord, the upcoming movie from Christian Monjou, I think is how you say that, former Palme d'Or winner, featuring a reunion from, I already forgot the name of that movie.
A different man.
Different man. Better Man was the monkey one.
After months of you taunting us for
That's
not
real
seeing
rich.
So this has Sebastian Stan, who I continue to think is way underrated in terms of what he brings to his films, and Renata Rensby, also of I heard different man. I forgot it a second time that fast. I'm only thinking about the Robbie Williams monkey movie. So there's this feels quiet. This feels showcasey. It's about a family that flees one country after the death of some parents and tries to instill themselves in a community, and questions arise about potential abuse, and it weaves into how you raise your children and religion and all these kind of darker Oscar-y things. So I don't know. We're late in the draft, but I'm excited to kind of throw one vote to something that has a chance to be something really cool. So I'll take Fjord, which is also just fun to say.
I made a noise when you said this because this was pretty high up on my list. So I'm like, you're taking Renato away from me. I don't like it. but yeah, this to me would be. I mean, Renato Rensby aside, this would be sort of a big international feature play. I think this film is strongly rumored to be premiering at Cannes, and Neon acquired it, so it's already got the recipe that it needs potentially to be a part of the Oscar race. So well done.
Yeah, this was on my list. I mean, I don't want to say I was like, wow, this is Jen Core. Like Jen should have this movie. But I did think that, and I was like, oh, like this has all the markings of premieres at Cannes or at Venice, wins a big award there, is talked about. It's like, oh, this movie's actually quite good, and then it comes out. And, it has that Anatomy of a Fall sentimental value kind of trajectory of one of those international movies that comes through, and we have a great time with. I like this as a balance from the maybe the bigger, you have Disclosure Day, and then a pure popcorn fun movie like Cliff Booth. This is great. And then again, the question mark of Digger. So this is a good pick. And you get to say Fjord, and you get to really push for us to do a Fjord episode when the time comes, and we all get to say Fjord.
I thought we would do a Hall of Fjords episode, top 10 fjords in movies, but we'll work it out. We'll work on the scheduling.
Okay.
All right, PT, you're up next.
Flashback. I am up next. Thank you, Jen. Even though I was talking over you, and I apologize. Okay. Well, the thing is I really sort of ranked all my movies feeling like, well, all these are going to be gone by what I'm looking at is my top two tiers, which were 7 movies. I was like, they'll all be gone by the time it gets to this pick, which is my 4th pick. I'll be lucky if I can have 3 of them. But my last one is still there. And I'm like, is this too, am I not diversifying enough? But I think I have to listen to my heart. And I have to listen to the good things that could come of this. And just like, what am I excited about? So for this round, I'm going to take Another sort of gang coming back together. I'm going to take the latest film from Robert Eggers, Werewolf.
Nice.
Which is basically having four of the stars of Nosferatu come back. I don't know the degree to which it will actually overlap with that movie, but it's it is connecting, in that traditional classic Universal monsters way. This kind of story. The early reports, at least, are that it's going to be pretty gruesome. It's going to be like unlike, say, the unfortunate Wolfman movie that came out last year. Was that 2 years ago? I forget. With Julia Garner, not as successful as Weapons. But in any event, that this is going to be, it's going to have that like Eggers. It's going to be gorgeous. The cinematography will be great. I'm sure all the production design, the costuming will be great. I don't know if it will get to Nosferatu levels. This again might be sort of an Avatar type thing where it's just sort of like, okay, you did it again. Another horror movie. That's fine. But there's maybe some Oscar chances here below the lines, technical awards or technical nominations at least. But I mean, just for the most part, I like when Robert Eggers makes weird movies about creepy. I got my big smashy monster in Godzilla, and now I have my creepy monster in Werewolf. So I'm good. I'm good on in sort of covering all these bases here.
We're going to keep working on PT Core, but what I almost said earlier was that PT Core needed to be black and white to count. So presumably they did put out a black and white Godzilla -1 cut, so maybe, right? So maybe that you'll get that for
Nosferatu was close because it was like blue and black. Basically, it was.
I don't know what they're doing for Werewolf, but when I think of Eggers, I think really cool black and white stuff. So, I think it's a very PT pick in a good way. I don't mean that derogatorily. And I also I forget how much I like Robert Eggers. I think I was a little mixed on Nosferatu, but I was recently reminded of the existence of the Northman. And I was like, oh yeah, that movie rocked. That was so much fun and a really, just wild, kind of go all out and just do it kind of movie. And the way you're talking about Werewolf sounds like it just go all out and do it. Let's just make it really bloody. Let's just make it gory and have fun with it. So, Christmas release, as I recall, right?
December 25th.
Wow.
Yeah, just like Nosferatu. Playing the Nosferatu, run it back. So, but I'll be there. It sounds really cool. So great pick.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that I've drafted Nosferatu the year that it came out, so I fully support this pick. And I think if I hadn't drafted Nosferatu, this would have been way higher on my list. But I was just worried about I can't go back to the Robert Eggers well so soon. I'll let someone else do that. So I'm glad that you've picked this. Wolves are awesome. I don't know. So
also, wouldn't it be bad if you couldn't stop yourself from changing into a wolf and hurting people when you don't want to? That would be awful. I think I want to see people struggle with that.
All right.
Two.
Your final two picks. Two.
Oh, okay.
Unless we do a 6th round.
Oh no, we're not doing a 6th round. Stop suggesting that. Okay, so at this point in the draft, I'm looking at what I have already, and I'm thinking I do really need to start balancing out my list because I've done the opposite of Greg. I've gone oops all. I mean, not all blockbuster, but I'm leaning very heavily blockbuster, right? With at least two out of the 3 of my picks. So I think I'm gonna go with something I know is gonna be potentially an Oscar player, and something that an international director that I know I can trust, and that has proven himself previously, and that is Ryusuke Hamaguchi. His new movie, All of a Sudden, which when I read the premise, I was like, well, this sounds like it has so much in common in terms of the approach or the premise to Drive My Car, which is a movie that I absolutely loved the year that it came out. This is the description from Wikipedia. The director of a nursing home in the Parisian suburbs attempts to introduce a humane care technique known as humanitude in spite of resistance. Her life is changed when she meets a terminally ill Japanese playwright named Mari Murasaki. So we got the playwright angle. That was one of my favorite things, is the integration of the play into the story of Drive My Car. So and like to me, Hamaguchi is just a known quantity. Like I was like, Drive My Car was incredible. So hopefully this is, even if this doesn't even reach the heights of that movie, I think I will still really like it. So that's gonna be a pick, and like ideally a strong contender for international feature, right? At the very least, right? Drive My Car actually made it into Best Picture for those who don't remember. So there's potential here for sure.
As a proud hype draft holder of Evil Does Not Exist, a movie I don't know if anyone else saw, but the Hamaguchi movie in between Drive My Car and All of a Sudden, I heartily endorse this pick. Partially for the reason that you said you didn't want to take Werewolf after Nosferatu. Like, I don't want to take him again. Like, I don't know. Like,
we're just trading directors.
I want to mix it up a little bit. Yeah. So this is great. I'm excited about this. I'm very curious about like the French language element in this movie. But it's yeah. I mean, he makes these great meditative but like impactful movies that I'm excited to see this. So I'm glad to know there is another one coming out. And I'm glad I don't have to look at it on my list and talk myself out of taking it in the fifth round, which I might have had to do otherwise.
I will see PT's meditative and impactful, and I'll just add compelling. Like for such quiet movies, it's like incredible how much I can't wait for the next scene and the next scene and the next scene in both the cited films, which I did eventually catch the middle one on. It's on Criterion exclusively, right? For a while?
Yes.
Yeah. So very, very good pick. You know, the only thing I will say to dampen your happiness and enthusiasm is like something's going on with the Academy and the films actually by Asian directors, right? Like, I don't know that we've tracked it, but like something's going on. And, you know, but hey, Jim Jarmusch, sure. But he's from Japan. But, you know, so
Isn't that Wim Wenders?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I got my wrong 80s in the art house director. Wim Wenders. That makes more sense. Should I take it clean? No, we'll leave the goof in just so I lose credibility. So great pick. I'm excited for this. I do like that you're moving from sentimental value. You're like, no, Greg, I own international feature winner. I'm going to try to get it this way, even though I think
we got to compete for it.
Fjord the Fiume.
Jen Neon Bankard.
So I do. Okay. So I still have one more pick. There's so much pressure here because there's so many movies still on my list. Hopefully we're not doing another round officially, but we can drop in a couple of honorable mentions potentially of movies that people might not know about that we didn't pick, hopefully. Cause then I'll feel less bad about that. But I gotta go back. I did my prestige pick. Now I gotta go back to my heart, and I'm going to Narnia. Pack up your Turkish delights. Let's go. Again, I guess maybe another subtle theme of my list is like movies that people have been throwing shade at for a long time and don't think can make it. So this is Greta Gerwig's adaptation of what is chronologically the first Chronicles of Narnia book, but is not publication wise. That's still The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I think there's a lot of discourse that's gotten out of control about this on the internet already, where people are like, well, it's the first one, so why don't you know it? Like, why are people? And that's like, okay, calm down. We understand where you're coming from. You're trying to defend this book. That's great. But at the same time, like it was like their sixth book in terms of the publication, and it was not planned. It is a prequel. So the premise of this movie is it's like thousands of years before the plot of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It talks about the formation of Narnia and the origin story of Aslan, the lion. And so like it does have a prequel thing. I think this is honestly like a really smart move because we've already had a lot of Narnia adaptations of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and people are much more familiar with that story. So I think Greta Gerwig has a much bigger runway with this book and adapting this book. I was kind of sad that on The Big Picture, Sean and Amanda spent at least 10 minutes making fun of the title of this movie, The Magician's Nephew. They're like, that can't be. And I think the producer, Jack, was even like, that can't be real, right? So I was like, come on, you guys, like, let's take it down a notch, okay? Like, I'm a big proponent of any of the Inklings. And so I feel like that and I love Greta Gerwig and I trust her implicitly, especially with literary adaptation. See all of our conversations about Little Women. And the other thing too is that like this book, in terms of the tone, is a lot lighter and more playful than some of the other ones in the Narnia series. And so that, to me, I'm like, oh, that's the thing that she likes about this, right? Like, so there's also a potential for some Barbie treatment to be happening. And so I'm just really excited. Again, like, as a lot of the movies we've talked about, I'm just so excited to see what this director with their unique vision does with this story. So maybe that kind of makes it match we're bookending my picks with visionary directors doing. I'm repeating Barbenheimer too. We're bringing it back to Nolan and Gerwig. So yeah. So like, again, this is probably not a smart pick if everybody who's been talking about this movie and speculating about it is right. But I want to bet on Greta.
Greta Gerwig doing a big fantasy movie. But yes, like I'm interested. I personally had a literal box set. Like, it had one of those box frames with all 8, I think, Chronicles of Narnia books in them. And it was a bit of a problem. I could never get past the second one. I read Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, I think, like 3 times as a kid, and then would start Prince Caspian and get like halfway through and be like, I don't care. So I never got to this one, but it's fun. I never watched the other Chronicles of Narnia movies because see earlier aforementioned story, and also that was when a lot of those kind of sagas were coming out, and it was clear they wouldn't finish them. So it was like, all right, whatever. But like, it's, again, Greta Gerwig is doing a high fantasy movie, and it's going to have a big budget. And streamer just opened the pocketbook to let her do whatever she wants, and that is exciting. So good pick.
I just primarily want to co-sign everything Jen said about the idiots on the internet being like, what a dumb title. Like, this has never existed. And spoiler, those same idiots would have been like, we just had a Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe movie if she had started there. So I thought PT might be going here, but I will say, my wife and I, for a long time, were tracking, like, every time a box set of those came out in a bookstore we saw, we would try to figure out, did they actually put them in the release order or the chronological order? Because they go like half and half in a given box set of the Narnia books. I think I am probably not as excited for this, but I am endorsing the success. Like, I want it to be successful. I want it to work, even if it's not, like, personally one that I'm like running out the door to go see. But I will be there and I will see it, because that is true of all movies, period. But I think Greta deserves all the success in the world. And if she can bring some of that same, like, verve to that she brought to Barbie and surprise us again by finding something in this material. She joked in an interview around the release of Barbie, I think, that her career has accidentally become remastering all the things that she loved as a teenager, right? Like Little Women, Barbie, and now Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Chronicles of Narnia. So I hope it works well, and I hope it's really big and fun. So yeah, great pick. Even if I think you're a sellout, and now that Antonio's not here, you're like, this is just a blockbuster podcast. One eye always on the box office.
Don't worry, Greg. It's not going to make anybody. It's Netflix.
But they've contracted with IMAX screens already. That was a big selling point of this when they announced this movie, right?
And it is possible that it was that contracting combined with the sort of Glass Onion versus Wake Up Dead Man of the Rian Johnson movies, plus the Warner Brothers deal, that it's possible Netflix is going to loosen some of their let's not put things into the theaters. So yeah, I'm excited to see it on a big IMAX screen.
Also, let's all remember what everyone was saying before anyone saw Barbie.
Yeah,
true.
A movie about Barbie. What? Like,
it's been proven. It's been proven. Okay, I'm at my last pick, and I'm in a tough position because there's just a lot of choices here, which is not to say that I don't have my overall list is decimated, because you guys have taken a lot of the stuff that like would have made this easier. But I'm also at a point where like the top 2 movies, like in the sort of unofficial rankings I had, are they're 2 kind of scary movies, and I don't really want to get into that. And I won't say more because I already have a couple of those. I got my monsters. I don't think I need another one of those. Trying to choose between, do I lean into Greg's definition of PT Core and go with a black and white movie? Do I go with a very colorful movie? or do I go with a real wild card choice? And now that I'm saying it out loud, of course I have to go with the real wild card choice. Because what are we doing?
That's what the last pick's for, right?
So years in the making, years waiting for this to actually be available, years to be a thing that I can see. What the hype when people were being combative around this movie, because there was reasons to be combative, was that it could be the picking up the legacy of one of my favorite movies from growing up, and I would love for that to be the case. So following in the footsteps of the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit as a mix of live action and animation, I will be taking Coyote versus Acme, the movie about Looney Tunes, which is finally coming out. And I want it to be really good. And so I want to take it because I'm really hoping that I'm going to enjoy it as much as the people who have been fighting for it have said. Buried by Warner Brothers 3 years ago as a tax write-off, it is finally coming out in August. And I am hoping I'll have a great time with it because I love the Looney Tunes. I love Will Forte. I love movies that mix live action and animation. I think that's always super fun. And I love legal comedies. So what if it's just like My Cousin Vinny, but with Wile E. Coyote? I think that would be really fun. So I'm going with Coyote versus Acme, leaving at least one Oscar nomination on the table, I think, from some of my other movies, but that's okay. Because if this movie is fun, I will be happy. I will be happy at my heart with this wild card pick.
I love this pick for you.
What a way to say she was never going to pick it.
No, of course. Well, that's why it's wild card. But I also, I mean, it would be interesting, Greg, if you took one of the other movies. But that's like, I won't be mad if you take them. But I kind of feel like none of them are in the Greg zone. But we'll see. I don't know.
Well, and I will just say, like, I think maybe I join you in the Who Framed Roger Rabbit shaped me into the man I am today club. And I also really liked the Chippendale Rescue Ranger movie a couple years ago. I thought that was a worthy successor. Is that one of those ones that Disney Plus like hid after a week or something for tax write-off? I'm not sure.
I hope not. I haven't seen it yet, but I
haven't seen it available, or it hasn't popped up. But that might just mean that they're not like
just lost
advertising it.
Algorithm. Yeah,
I haven't checked
that because that's the Lonely Island guys essentially doing their version of a modern one of these.
Yeah.
So
according to Just Watch, it is still on Disney Plus. So
that's worth your time. I mean, maybe you have a adult beverage first or some substance that elevates you in some way. But it's a good time.
Where are you at on Space Jam?
Are you asking me or asking Greg?
Yeah, because you said you really like.
No, I didn't like Space Jam. That was too. It was that came out right at the wrong time. I was in high school, and so I was like, I put aside childish things, except for Star Wars, except for every movie I watched when I was a kid. I was like, I put aside childish things. So like that, the Disney Renaissance of the '90s, I never got into, and Space Jam, I never got into because I was like, I'm a grown up now, and I watch adult movies, not adult movies, but movies for grown ups.
So. All right, Greg, just make your last pick. Come on. Let's put PT out of his misery.
Okay. Well, and I do co-sign Jen's. I think you did the right thing, which is the last round should be like something wild and something out there. So, well, I can name whatever I want to name because nobody else can pick anything. So I will say what I've been struggling over and hovering over in my blockbuster lane. I see Spider-Man still there, and I see Avengers Doomsday there. Now, I didn't say this earlier because I didn't want to mention the title until, in case you forgot, there was an Avengers movie coming out, despite referencing it like 3 times in our opening. But I will say, I think it's more than likely that Disney blinks and moves Avengers into next May, May 27, because I think, Marvel movies always benefit from incubation time, right? Like they can work, they can do their reshoots, they can do the whole Marvel process. And I think especially without the IMAX screens. I mean, they're claiming right now that they have everything else. They have the Dolby and the D-Box so we don't even want your stinking IMAX screens. But I think they really want to have a big fat chance at a end game level movie. So, and I will be careful when I say this in case my son hears it. I was actually cooler on Spider-Man after the trailer. I did not get wowed by that. I'm a little worried that we are yet again like, hey, here's Peter Parker, but really aren't you excited for Frank Castle? And really aren't you excited for Bruce Banner? And So makes me a little nervous. I also had heard a million things that they shot here, at least somewhat, and then it sure looks like they're in New York the whole time, and not at MIT. So I have some questions about that. So with apologies to those, I mean, Jen, I'm not leaving Marvel Island. Please don't sell my villa on Marvel Island. I plan to
We can
return.
sublet it. Maybe.
I don't even want to sublet it. I love you, Marvel, and I will still be there opening night for both of those movies or earlier if possible. But I'm going to pass that. So that leaves me down. I'm out of all my other categories except my two potential, I have two left in the indie critical darlings movies. And I'm really stuck between these two. So my bit could continue from last year, and one of the potential candidates does have Josh O'Connor in it, but I am going to pass that by. And instead, I'm going to go with the PT Spirit and take for my wild card the only living pickpocket in New York, which recently had its festival debut and seems to have gotten pretty warm reception. So I see Jen Googling. She's like, I haven't even heard of this one. So why it's on the Greg radar is it is directed by Noah Segan, a longtime acting collaborator of Rian Johnson, who appears in all of Rian Johnson's films, including he is Trooper Wagner, and then he is the guy who lives on Glass Onion Island. I forget his name. He has a funny name too. And then he was the owner of the Devil Bar in Wake Up Dead Man. So he is directing John Turturro, Giancarlo Esposito, Steve Buscemi, aforementioned, Tatiana Maslany, who I absolutely love from everything she's been in, including She-Hulk, and Jamie Lee Curtis in a film about an aging career pickpocket who is forced into a desperate high-stakes race against time through the streets of the city. Unless you think this is just a weirdo, nobody will ever hear of it again, it was picked up by Sony Picture Classics, which means at least some critics groups will elevate that to the absolute top of their list. And if it's only AARP magazine, then that's fine. I'll take it. I'll take those points in the Vulture movie draft. So I think this is the kind of movie I like to pick in the hype draft because something that maybe people didn't hear of and sounds pretty good and sounds pretty fun. So I'm hopeful for this one.
I will just add for local flavor from my corner of the woods. Noah Segan also prominently featured in the Vidiot welcome message. He's one of the two celebrities. All due respect to Noah Segan, I'll put it in quotes. It's like a dropout comedian and Noah Segan are the two guys leading you through welcome to Vidiots. Here's where the exits are. Here's be quiet during the movie. So yeah, he's a presence in the film community, at least up on the screen. Yeah, this is really fun. It wasn't on my list, but it was in my research. I saw this and I was like, oh, that looks like it could be fun. It kind of got swamped by other movies, but I think this is again very very. If you're subletting your Marvel Island, your Rian Johnson Peninsula is well stocked with supplies for you to hang out.
Yeah, I have to admit, this was not on my radar at all. I did not come across this in my prep, which maybe says something about how much prep I did for this. But it sounds, I'm just based on what you described, I'm in. This sounds great.
So if my list has a theme, it's I believe in certain people, right? I'm trying to chase the people I really trust in the movie making world. I think it would be a little better for me if Behemoth was in my list instead of maybe one of the two of these. But I do think these are all talents that have earned a place in my heart, and so I'm very excited to have it.
Greg, why don't you start us off by reading your whole list so we can recap?
All right. So, listeners, now is the time to open up Letterboxd and start adding films to your things I plan to see this year list. I'm sure if I say this on air, PT will build a hype draft list that you can read on our Letterboxd account. I would also challenge PT, our social media manager, when we post this episode, we should have a little one of those boxes where people can put in their top pick of the year or what they would draft first, or I don't think people can respond with 5 movies, but however much people can respond, I'd love to hear from listeners what they want to pick. All right. So my hype draft 2026 movie list is movie number 1, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. Movie number 2, David Fincher's The Adventures of Cliff Booth. Number 3, Alejandro Inarritu's Digger, starring Tom Cruise. Number 4, Fjord, the film, starring Sebastian Stan and Renata Rensby. I'm naming the people I trust in this draft. And number 5, The Only Living Pickpocket in New York, the directorial debut of Noah Segan, starring John Turturro, who's way better than people give him credit for, even though people give him a lot of credit. PT, where'd your list end up?
Oh, my list ended up with all kinds of fun genre stuff that I am just, I don't know if I have a thread in the same way you do. Besides, again, it's just like movies I want to see immediately, movies I want to see right now. And I'm pretty happy about this. I have Dune Part 3. Dune, ever heard of them? Like pretty good series of movies. But again, potentially maybe capping off the best trilogy of this decade. Number 2, I have Godzilla Minus Zero, a sequel to an excellent movie, one amazing monster movie. That's going to be very exciting. I can't wait. Very happy, if nothing else, that I broke the news to Greg that there will be a sequel to Godzilla Minus One. Also, Martin McDonagh's Wild Horse 9 is my third movie. Crime comedy movie, likely with a lot of spicy dialogue and it looked like some little sociopolitical elements in there as well, which should be great. Number 4, Robert Eggers' Werewolf. Greg and I both get to have fun accent work in our lists. But yeah, I mean, Werewolf from the crew that brought you Nosferatu a few years ago. Let's do a lupine based story. And then number 5, my wild card, the wonderful release, finally free of the David Zaslav chains, Coyote versus Acme, the live action mixed with Looney Tunes courtroom movie. Jen, what's your list? Share it with us.
All right. My list starts off with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Then I have Tony Gilroy's Behemoth, which Greg is apparently very bitter about. Next, then I have The Mandalorian and Grogu. Star Wars comes back to the big screen. My 4th movie is Raisuke Hamaguchi's All of a Sudden. And my last movie is Narnia, The Magician's Nephew, directed by none other than Greta Gerwig. This is a pretty good group of movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Any honorable mentions for people that had like ones right outside of their list? Greg, you were deciding between 2 at the end.
I was disappointed Greg did not pick the single Coen brother, Josh O'Connor vehicle, Jack of Spades.
No release date. Was that the other movie?
Oh, is that?
So Jack of Spades was the other movie. It looks good. It has wrapped, but it hasn't been given a date. And I will say I checked like 3 times because I always can't remember which Coen I like. And Joel is the Coen I prefer.
Yes.
Even though I go see both of their movies, whichever it is. But I think as I've watched their independent films, Joel is the dark, serious one. Ethan is the really goofy, slapsticky one. And I preferred the dark, serious Coen brother. And, Josh O'Connor, never a bad bet. Looks pretty good. It's got Frances McDormand in it. There's a lot of, American Gothic mystery, I believe is the log line. So I thought it might be on Jen's list for that reason.
It was. Well, so the thing that held me back a little bit was I trust single Coen brothers a lot less than 2 Coen brothers together. So in terms of track record, so then I hesitated. But yeah, everything I learned about this movie is like, it seems like it's made for me. I just put in the chat a photo of Josh O'Connor on set of this movie. I think you need to see this picture. It is something to behold.
Yeah, he's got a great hat. That's a real killer. Like that is a werewolf looking hat.
Yeah, like he's in the wrong movie.
Be easily poured over there.
A fantastic looking hat and also a wig.
Yes, he has a lot of hair on his face, on his head, coming out of the hat.
I feel like if this had a definitive fall release date, this would have gone in like round 3 to one of us because it was on my list too, but I just dropped it because it's like there's not even like rumor indication that it's coming out this year beyond just the hope of like when the filming stopped. But I remember Macbeth, Joel Coen's other solo movie was the Denzel Washington, Frances McDormand Macbeth. And I feel like that was pandemic related, but that took an extra year or two to come out. So
that ended up being Apple, right?
Yes.
I think. And I saw that in theaters in, again, kind of that we're doing, Apple's a little more generous now, but it did a very limited run and then had a full Apple Plus life.
So other ones that were on my list were the two Sandra Hüller movies. So once known as Fatherland, now retitled 1949. This is a Pavel Pawlikowski movie that Mubi just picked up. I think Mubi's ready for a comeback after they kind of fell off the map this year, but had success with The Substance the year before. And Rose is the name of the other one. I think we talked about both of those on the Project Hail Mary episode.
I feel like we or at least I feel like I dropped the ball on Fatherland /1949 because we talked about Rose, but I didn't see that one until I was researching for this. That was the black and white movie I was thinking of taking, because like I mean I loved Ida, his 2 movies ago or 3 movies ago, Pawlikowski, and then with Sandra Hüller. Sounds great, but also was like a sad road trip through Germany in the 40s. It's like, yeah, maybe I want to see that, but like, no coyotes or roadrunners.
I believe it's the same cinematographer as Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
So Lukáš Zal, I think is his name. But so that was really close. I think if I hadn't gone more mainstream with Narnia, that probably would have rounded out my list. There was a really wild movie that I probably was never going to pick, but when I found it, I got really excited. It's a Korean film called Hope, and it is a science fiction thriller. And I don't know if this is a spoiler because it's in the Wikipedia page, but everyone in the cast who is not Korean is listed as playing an extraterrestrial, including Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander. So I was just like, what is this? This was like the gem that I found that I had never heard of.
Nice.
So, but I was like, but also it sounds so weird that like this seems too risky. I don't think I want to pick it. But, and then another one, and then I'll let someone else take a turn is Ink, which is Danny Boyle's biopic about Rupert Murdoch, in which Guy Pearce plays Rupert Murdoch. That sounded really interesting. But then part of me was like, oh, well, is Guy Pearce just going to be his character from like another slight variation on his character from The Brutalist? And is that going to be too much of the same? But
The Brutalist, but with his own accent. Yeah, that I had, I played around with that and that kind of fell down my tears because I was like, I don't really want to spend time with Rupert Murdoch, even if you're eviscerating him. And even if he's young, he's just buying his first newspaper. But yeah, I think I hadn't looked into Hope enough to have seen that. Like I saw it as like potential South Korean Oscar play for this year, but I didn't realize that cast twist, which is pretty fun. So, I ended up with Godzilla Minus Zero, which isn't really a horror movie, but it's a monster movie. And then Werewolf, which that's going to be a horror adjacent movie. So that kind of moved me past what I kind of had as backup movies to those. One of which is a movie called Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, which is the new Jane Schoenbrunn movie, the writer-director of I Saw the TV Glow. And it looks similarly bonkers to I Saw the TV Glow. And, in the sort of like, I don't want to keep the same people necessarily from, movie to movie within my hype draft. And also that genre that seemed a little too close to it. I'm also pretty interested in, while I'm not necessarily interested in a new movie set in the Resident Evil video game universe, I am interested in Zach Kreger writing and directing a zombie movie. So that sounds like it could be pretty fun. That if things had shaken out a different way, that would have been in the conversation for me. I'll also note in the vein of recently renamed, formerly Flowervale Street, now The End of Oak Street, which is the new movie from David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows and Under the Silver Lake, which It Follows I think is really great as a horror movie. Under the Silver Lake is a little ponderous and a little overrated by the people who love it and a little underrated by the people who hate it. But this movie looks like a really weird sci-fi movie. It's Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor as the mother and father of a family who live at the end of like a cul-de-sac, and the cul-de-sac like moves to a different time period / dimension like suddenly, and they wake up and it looks like there's dinosaurs that are around outside of their house, and I don't know what that means and I don't know how it ends up. So I don't know, it looks like it could be cool, but not cool enough for me to commit to drafting it when there are these other movies. Besides Fatherland / 1949, the other one I was really struggling with, and almost drafted at the end. And I look forward to this being the Marty Supreme / Avatar Fire and Ash of the movies next year. I'm like, why didn't I draft that instead of the Looney Tunes movie? Is I Love Boosters, the new Boots Riley movie, which I believe Greg mentioned, if not on mic, at least last recording, because the trailer for that just came out. But it is Keke Palmer, Naomi Ackie, speaking of the substance, Demi Moore as like a fashion designer who steals the designs of a young Black woman, and the Black woman and her friends start to steal all of her clothing from fashion boutiques. And Boots Riley is the person who wrote and directed Sorry to Bother You. And it's like, at least the trailer as it exists. And again, we talked about don't watch trailers, but I did watch trailers for these movies to see what's going on. It's super crazy, colorful. Every scene looks color coded.
It was great.
Everyone's wearing like amazing looking clothes, and just like the people who appear that look like they only have like maybe a couple of scenes just goes really deep and looks incredible. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that movie. If I did bully my way into having a 6th round, that for sure would have been my 6th pick.
Yeah, I mentioned it because it's the opening night selection for the Boston Independent Film Festival, and I'm gonna rush to get tickets to that. The closing night, which they also announced, is Olivia Wilde is coming to town to premiere her new movie, which got pretty good buzz after it was shown. At least better than her last movie. So that's exciting. I will say I am proud of myself, and maybe only because I have to straddle between my chair and Antonio's chair, that I emptied my critical darling and like cool Oscar movie categories. So I don't really have a lot to add other than I will just note, clearly the biggest grossing movies of the year are probably going to be Super Mario Galaxy, Toy Story, and or the Minions. And, those are not really in the lanes of long take review. We hate animation in all its form. No, I'm sure we will see all those movies. At least Jen and I will see all of those movies 10 times a pop. But I think there's potential to Toy Story 5. I think, that franchise should have ended at Toy Story 3, but if it's going to keep going, it seems like they have a pretty cool premise for it. And the first, I know, Jen, you have a big Nintendo house, so you must be totally ready for Mario Galaxy.
There's been a lot of popcorn buckets that I'm like, if my kids see those, we might be in trouble.
Yoshi, 100%.
Yeah, the Yoshi and the Luma and the
see if I can say yes or no. So,
who's voicing Yoshi? Do we know?
I think it is. Oh shoot, who is it?
Donald Glover, of course.
Oh, there we go. I knew it was someone I liked. So I was like, oh, and then Glenn Powell is going to be Fox from Star Fox.
They just revealed, some posters with him. Yeah.
I will gladly enjoy that movie. Maybe I will get to see it in the theater. If we scheduled a Super Mario double feature episode where we wanted to talk about the original and the new one, that would certainly motivate me to not just wait for it to show up on Peacock. Toy Story 5, I almost certainly will see in the theater. I love the Toy Story movies. Even though Greg is correct, it should have ended at 3. But even though it's like, in a way an abomination that it exists, was still a great movie. And it gave us Forky, one of the best characters in a long time.
And Duke Kaboom.
And that's right. I forget he's in 4 and not in 3.
So I have just a quick, and then I think we'll close it out. A quick couple other shout outs that I think are like movies Antonio should be aware of. So if you're listening, Antonio, these are for you. So one is Andrew, I can't ever remember how to pronounce his name, Haig. Andrew, the director of All of Us Strangers. Mm-hmm. He has another movie coming out through Mubi called A Long Winter, which is an adaptation of a short story. So that should be on his list. And there's Greg Quedar's coming out with another movie called Saturn Return. This is from Netflix, and this is mostly because I'm mentioning this because it stars Rachel Brosnahan and Charles Melton, which we are big fans of from May, December. There's a Anthony Bourdain biopic starring Dominic Sessa. I had totally forgot that they were making that, and I was just like, that casting is kind of genius, and so for that reason alone, I think that should be on our radars. And then lastly, there was one more. Where is it?
Is it
Dominic Sessa of Now You See Me 3? Now
that's
you
right. I forgot he was in that. No one took Scorsese. What Happens at Night? The Leo and Jennifer Lawrence.
That's not coming out this year. They just started filming it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. It might, maybe it'll be something they suddenly like throw out like December 30th. But that was, there's no, they're only like 2 weeks into shooting, I think, or maybe a little more now. That's why he had the mustache at the Oscars.
Oh, okay. The Christophers. So this is a movie with Ian McKellen and Michaela Cole that has some critics have seen and really like.
That is supposed to be good. I don't know if this is, I kind of like the idea we should have drafted a 4 for Antonio.
For Antonio?
Yeah. But, I'll just throw out there a couple things for what people might be into. I don't know what everyone's into. Ruben Östlund from Triangle of Sadness has a new movie called The Entertainment System is Down. Jeremy Saulnier, who was seen directing Rebel Ridge, which is a great Netflix little sort of standoff movie, has a movie called October. John Carney of Once and Sing Street, and those kind of happy singing movies, has a movie called Power Ballad with Paul Rudd as I think a wedding singer. And of course, I didn't think people would draft it, but I was wondering how many people were circling it. New J.J. Abrams movie starring Glenn Powell called The Great Beyond. J.J.'s first movie since the ill-fated Rise of Skywalker. Also a new Brad Bird animated movie called Ray Gun that's coming out. And Brad Bird animated is usually a good time.
And Disney has an original called Hexed for their big Thanksgiving release, which that's why they can't move Avengers up, right? Like we were talking about the puzzle pieces, but they have something at Thanksgiving that they want to gross Zootopia dollars. So
the studio who did Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings has a new movie this year, Wildwood. So that is a strong contender for animated feature potentially. It looks pretty good.
To put something out for Antonio's ghost roster is a movie called Cry to Heaven, directed by Tom Ford, who did A Serious Man. And I don't really know what it's about, but I feel like a new Tom Ford movie. He only makes a movie like once a decade. That seems like something.
Is the Todd Haynes movie coming out this year that Joaquin Phoenix skipped out on, and then Pedro Pascal?
I didn't see that it was coming out, but
I didn't see it anyway.
It's possible. De Noche.
God, Jen not satisfied, needs more Pedro Pascal movies.
Well, so I was like, I could have, if I were trying to be cheeky, I would have been like, oops, all Pedro Pascal hype draft. I don't know if I think that would not have been possible.
It could have been close for two of us to get all Anne Hathaway movies, because there's The Odyssey, there's Devil Wears Prada 2, which we have not mentioned. There's the End of Oak Street, or whatever that one was called. And then there's
Mother Mary is her other movie.
Yep. That's the pop star one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think she has 6 in total, which is crazy.
She has Verity, I think, is the last one. That's the Colleen Hoover.
Oof.
Yes.
Movie, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Mother Mary, Devil Wears Prada 2, The Odyssey, End of Oak Street, Verity, and a movie called Alone at Dawn, written a war drama film directed by Ron Howard, starring her, Adam Driver, and Betty Gilpin, which may or may not come out at the end of this year.
All right. Well,
so Anne Hathaway.
So many movies. So many movies.
Yeah,
so hard to choose from, but I think we did a good job. We stayed true to ourselves while also being strategic in many ways. So we'll just have to see again how wrong we are this time next year when we look back at all of these movies.
I don't think the process was wrong. The process was good. We made the right call at I think every step of the way.
All right, Greg, we've kept you up late once again. Tell folks where they can find you and what you've been up to.
You have, and I actually have to be up at 5:30 tomorrow because we're on Mondays again. So not a problem though. This is without a doubt one of my favorite episodes of the year. I think this and LTR are my two favorites. I'd even be open. I mean, we should always consider doing like an August update where we pick a few more because once the awards season comes into kind of shape, it's a little better to pick some more. But will I see these movies? Will I not see these movies? Who knows? Tune into my letterbox at IonCanon, EYEONCANON, for all the answers. PT is right. I recently completed seeing every Spielberg movie listed in Letterboxd, other than Disclosure Day, which is now listed in there, frustratingly. But I am going back and doing a lot of Spielberg, which is a lot of fun. His early stuff is really fun. You can track down his episodes of Night Gallery, which was the hard thing I'd never tracked down before. So that was a lot of fun. PT, where can people find you and the monster movies you will inevitably be watching this year?
Well, first of all, I love the idea that you were threatening to not go see movies. You're like, will I not see these movies? Like,
the emptiest threat ever.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But yes, you can find me and what I am watching and Stomp, Rip of various monsters on Letterboxd at PT McNiff, PTMCNIFF. You can also follow the show there at LTR Pod. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky with a relatively poorly managed social media account. Maybe I should outsource that to some of the people on the recording who are more into using social media. But we are on there at The Long Take Review. You can email us, thelongtakereview@gmail.com. You can also just follow the show wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're listening right now. Hit whatever the mechanism is for you to add it to your feed, and new episodes will arrive. Jen, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Sopchockchai, SOPCHOCKCHAI, and on Letterboxd at Qui-Gon Jen. Who will win?
I'm excited you're for movies. Let's show me these movies now.
Yay, movies. Thanks for listening. You can follow The Long Take Review on Substack at thelongtake.substack.com. Subscribe for free, and you'll be the first to know when a new episode drops. You will also receive occasional written reviews of new Star Wars and Marvel.